Shade. That's an interesting word. Shade. Those shades are in the light. I am in the shade. A shady character. You can see my body, maybe a bit of my face, but you can't actually see me. Who am I? What am I doing here? Are my body and my voice what your imagination would have matched up? Pretty shades, aren't they? Nice shape, nice colour too. Ooh, dirty. Have you ever had this feeling actually, when you put your glasses on the top of your head? You forget they're there, but you can feel them. It's a given, they're there. Then the evening comes and you put them down. Yet, the feeling doesn't go away. You keep passing your hand on the top of your head expecting to find your glasses up there, and you don't. You already knew they weren't there. It's funny, isn't it, how our body and our mind team up to trick us, to make us believe what isn't there. Except I shall see, I will not believe. Clever St. Thomas. Except I shall see, I will not believe. He would not believe what other people told him. Doubting Thomas. Sometimes I wish I was more doubtful. I have this bad habit of just trusting people. It has brought me the wonderful, but it gave me a lot of ugly too. But how do you know? What tells you? Who makes the rules? Everyone's a liar. And there is no little lie. There is no such thing as what they don't know won't hurt them. Truth is always floating close to the surface. The lie is a frozen lake on which you stand and suddenly the ice cracks. Truth spurts out. The shades are off the top of my head, but I can still feel them. What a strange setup. I look at your faces and I wonder, what is your story? And you? Because I'm telling you mine. I'm telling you whatever I want to tell you. I've got your time, your ears, your money. I'm the one in the light, saying whatever I want to say. You're the one in the shade, yet I can see you. I often look at people and wonder what their voice sounds like. If I can see only their profile, I build them a whole face in my mind. And if they're wearing a pair of those, I draw them eyes. I choose a color, a shape, the spirit they carry. I'm often wrong. When I look into the mirror, The game is gone. I know the whole story. Or at least I've got a Bible of memories that helps me build something that makes sense in my mind. Yet, I find myself in St. Thomas's shoes. Doubt. Doubt. Doubt everywhere, in every line, in every curl. In every curl. What's the biggest lie anyone told you? Who told it? Come on, think. Could you close your eyes? All of you, actually, close your eyes. It's late afternoon and a 7-year-old is playing on your lap, laughing. Oh, it's warm, so warm. You're sitting in the shade of old oak trees providing. And you are told your father is not your father. Ice-cracking moment. You can open your eyes. How did that feel? How does it feel? I don't remember many more details about that moment, but I remember how it felt. It was as if I was becoming two. A solid me and a see-through me. The me I always knew and the one I had no idea about. Like a camera out of focus, a broken camera. Until then, I never truly believed that an emotional shock could numb your nerves, shut your brain down. I was floating yet crashing down. The 7-year-old did not register. The air was too sweet, and so was her laugh. A tube, an ejaculation, a freezer, a baby. Science is incredible, isn't it? I mean, we can now grow chicken meat in a laboratory. Scientists have created a working human heart muscle out of spinach leaves. And 2 bits of cheap plastic protect our eyes from the mighty sun. A tube, an ejaculation, a freezer, a baby. And 24 years of lying. I knew without knowing. Everything was there to tell the story. I just hadn't looked at it before. But once the light is shed on it, truth as this obvious thing about it. There's this huge museum in Paris, La Cité des Sciences. You know it, I'm sure. And it's really well designed, especially for children. And when I was 8, I spent the whole day there with my parents. We explored everything. I ran everything until I dropped. I loved the chemistry show with the explosions and the colours and the funny lady in a white coat. And there was a whole bit about genetics too. A split chin, or the ability to curl your tongue, is inherited from at least one of your parents. Neither of my parents can curl their tongue. The truth. Some would say the ugly truth. The ugly lie. My parents used a sperm donor to have me. So what? I was born healthy and loved. And then I was raised in a lie that infected everything. My family imploded, slowly but surely, resulting in my parents' violent, hateful divorce when I was 14. And then I was left to pick up the pieces of that puzzle. But I didn't know what image I should find. I would find. And then, on a sunny afternoon in August, an old neighbour decided I had been kept in the dark for long enough. He pulled me out of the shade. So when I look at you, I wonder what your story is. And I wonder if one of you might be my sibling. The French law says that the same sperm can be used 10 times. And that the donor must already have 2 healthy children. And I thought I was an only child. And I thought I looked like my mother. I do. But do I? I don't care about what my biological father does, who he is, why he gave his sperm, what his voice sounds like. I thought about it, of course, I did. I just didn't claim into it for long. But when I look into the mirror and face that person and think about my Bible of memories, I'm a bit puzzled. And I crave a picture of him. Not to get to know him, to get to know me. When the ice cracked, it took time for me to start drowning. And then I did. Oh boy. But then I got out, and I barely think about it now that my dad is not my father. My dad, yes. Not my father. I forget. The shades are off the top of my head, but I can still feel them. For a very long time, I felt like a Rubik's Cube that couldn't be put back together anymore. Colours, powerful, vibrant colours, spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. a story. The more broken, the more interesting. It's beautiful, isn't it, how broken pieces build a mosaic. Put those pieces in a bag, shake it, tip it over. It will build the picture. Today, this is who I am. And tomorrow, who knows? And some pieces will stick inside the bag until you rummage through it. Careful not to cut your fingers. Did I ever meet a brother? A sister? What are the odds? I mean, the world is a small place, right? I once met an old primary school teacher in the middle of nowhere in a gas station in Australia. Odds don't matter. For a very long time, I was worried I would fall in love with a guy who would turn out to be my half-brother. I actually worked in a pub with an Italian girl who looked just like me. Customers couldn't tell us apart. Our colleagues would mix us up. Once, I saw a picture of her on Instagram, and I thought it was me. It terrified me. And it got me intrigued. I mean, she can't be my sister, right? She's from another country, she's got siblings, it's just not possible. But every time she comes up on my Facebook feed, I can't help but wonder. Since I know the truth, I talk about it quite openly. I don't stick it in every conversation, but it does come up. Because keeping it hidden would be it is a part of me. I don't know if it defines me. I don't actually think it does. But it is there, like the scar over my right eye, or my 4th birthday in Gabon. Part of the Bible. I talked about it at first because I felt lonely. And I needed to say it. I needed to put the torn linen out on the line for everyone to see. For me to see. The shades are off the top of my head for that. But I can still feel them. How do you cope? How do you cope when a bright white light is shone into your face? I am the Google generation. Why I don't know, I research from under my duvet, setting my laptop on the top of my blankets, burning it. Since 1973, when sperm banks were created in France, about 40,000 children were born from around 10,000 donors, give or take. That's crazy. It's crazy to me. In 2012, 1,334 children were born from sperm donation in France. Oh, and you know the rule I talked about earlier about 10 children per donor? Well, that law was actually adopted in 1994. 4 years after I was born. Yeah. Now I can see the people who are living now. I don't know my age. I actually found a grey hair recently. I mean, it was on my first and only graduation day from uni, when I was getting ready to go to Westminster Cathedral. Who was there, standing tall like a proud soldier, taunting me? Mr. Grey. Long enough to have been growing for weeks. I also recently found my first persistent lines. Yeah. Yeah. I'm okay with it. I am. I like scars though. I didn't scar myself. I just like scars because they tell part of the story. The part you can remember. And not always the tragic part. It's like a map. The map of a human life. I'm actually lucky because most of my scars are an opportunity for a good laugh. That one I mentioned earlier, 3 stitches. I was 17 when I was dancing on my boyfriend's bed with him naked, and our heads just went blood everywhere. Yes, let me tell you, a 17-year-old boy under stress has no idea which way a thumb goes. This one here is a swimming pool accident. This is a bike accident, I don't know if you can see it. And then, for that one, I actually walked into a wall. Yes. I also sat on broken glass once, but I won't show you that one. There's one I could show you, actually, because it's not visible anymore. It's like it disappeared. Yet I know exactly where it is. I was 6 years old when I fell off my mentally bed head first. I don't actually remember it. I mean, I do, but it's probably fabricated memories. My mum always says that she heard a massive bang, a loud cry, rushed upstairs to find me on the floor, covered with blood, but obviously very, very, very conscious. So she grabbed me, put me in the shower to see if there was anything left in the wound, which there wasn't. So she just rushed me to the family doctor. 16 stitches. Yeah. Yet, lost in my thick hair, nothing's left to tell the story. But I know exactly where it is, right here. It doesn't feel any different to the rest of my scalp, to the touch, but it's there. My biggest physical wound. In the way, the closest one to my emotional one. Except the hurt. When I can barely feel when the other ones still burn. She loves me, my mother. I know she loves me. I know. You know how people sometimes try and tell you what to do? How to do it? Why, where, when they have no idea. When it's your heart, your time, your craft, your sleep that's getting lost. They push and break you a bit more when they tried to repair. Their intentions were good, yes, most probably, but it's your heart on the goddamn floor. I say Dad and Father. Those are two very clear terms for me. Dad and Father. I got tired of saying biological father. Talk of a mouthful. So there's the guy who raised me, Dad, and the guy who came in a cup and gave me half my DNA, Father. A friend of my mother's once told me off for saying father, lectured me. But you don't know the man, darling. And it's not because your father is not what you call your dad. Oh, darling, I'm getting lost with your terms. Dad, father, it's the same thing. And it's not because there's silence between your dad and you that he's not your father anymore. Stop using that term for that man, will you? There. She flat out refused to even try and understand why I was using those terms the way I used them. I deleted her on Facebook. You think I'm harsh, don't you? And you wonder, why so angry? I'm a strong believer that you build yourself. That you take whatever you were given and build your own picture, your own mosaic, your own you. And there are the memories that fade and the ones that stick for no particular reason. There's this one, the one that feeds my anger. I was 13, 11 years before truth, 11 years before truth. My mother and I were watching the news. Parliament was in session today, debating on sperm donation and the laws around it. The main question being, should it stay automatically anonymous? Ce serait irresponsable de changer cette loi. Si j'étais à leur place, je voudrais avoir le droit de savoir. I said that to my mother. If I was in that situation, I'd want to be able to know. I said that to my mother 11 years before truth. Unaware of how much it should have resonated with her. Yet obviously did not. So maybe you do think I'm harsh. That I had a happy childhood and my parents tried to protect it no matter what. That it's noble. Do you really think I'm telling you everything? That I'm not editing some parts of the story out? Those memories that did stick and I wish didn't? I just finished a book. Beautiful Lies the Dead. I'm a quick reader. So, a young woman disappears 2 weeks before her wedding. Turns out that she had disappeared on purpose because she had realized that she was about to marry her brother. It just won't leave me alone. When the ice cracked and I started drowning, it wasn't because I didn't know who my real father is. It was because I had suddenly realized that I had been lied to by my mother for 24 years. When the ice cracked and I started drowning, she dared to tell me, "See, darling, I was right not to tell you. Look at the state you're in." When the ice cracked and I started drowning, I lost faith in my mother. Sometimes words just aren't enough. You try to explain, you try to understand, you listen. You try to make sense of the feelings, yours, theirs. You try, you try, you try, you try. And then you're in front of that person facing that mirror, and every line, every curl, every curve, every line, every curl, every fucking curve. It's exhausting to hate. To hate someone. To be angry. When I was a baby, my default position was no matter where I had started my night, my parents would always find me pushing and pushing forward until I hit something, and then I would keep pushing against the headrest, as if I always needed to be pushing against something, through something. Oh, and I didn't tell you the best about it all. There is more. So, not only was I born 4 years before sperm donation was properly legislated in France, but turns out that a couple of years later, my mother donated some of her eggs. Do you ever write letters you never send? Because you don't have time, or you forget, or you just don't send them? I do. And there are the letters that you do send and regret. I'm not angry at my parents for deciding to keep silent when I was nothing but a fetus. Because it probably felt easier at first, easier on my dad's ego, easier on my mum's love for him. And it wasn't going to have any impact on their love for me. On love in general. Except it did. Throughout the years, my father started having a distorted relationship to women. I believe it is because he could not love the sterile man he was seeing in that mirror. So he felt like he needed to regain power. The power he had lost somehow. But instead of talking about it, instead of breaking that silence, that secret, and talk and seek help, he started sexually harassing women. My mum's friends, then mine. When a friend of mine finally decided to report his behavior to the police, I was 18. And I was still living half the time at my mum's, half the time at my dad's, like it had been decided during the divorce 4 years earlier. So my friend went to the police, and then they contacted me. And because it was very, very, very important for potential evidence not to be destroyed, it was crucial that my father was not aware, my dad was not aware there was an inquiry happening. So they gave me a choice: to cut any contact with him without giving him any explanation, or to stay with him and live as if nothing had happened. Dad was sick, and that there was no way he could ever get better if I was to walk away from him. So I stayed. And I added silence to the silence. And knowingly, lie to the lie. I would have long showers so I could cry and find the strength to smile to him. And never did it occur to me to wonder why he was the man he was. But someone knew why he was the man he was. Someone who knew everything about the lies, all the lies. And someone who had nothing but hate left for the man. Yet, someone who says she didn't realize everything could be linked. My mother had the key to unlocking everything, and she chose not to use it. I'm not blaming her for my dad's behavior. I'm blaming her for hers. When I was 13, she went on our family computer's history and found websites with girls on it that looked my age, yet she didn't utter a word. She divorced him a year later, but when the judge granted shared custody, she didn't utter a word. And then she knew the hell I was going through by staying by my dad's side when the police was looking into his behavior, but she didn't utter a word. She didn't utter a word. Between the moment she realized he could do something to me, to the moment I finally walked away from him because he had crossed the line, 8 years had gone by. I was a 21-year-old woman who would still have to sink for another 3 years before an old neighbor grabbed my hand. So I am angrier than words will ever express when she says, when she hides behind the sentence, all I ever did was to protect you. How was any of this protecting me? When I confronted her about it, she said she was worried people would think she was trying to pull me away from my dad after the divorce. So her image was more important than my safety, after all. So I'm not angry at my parents for deciding to keep silent when I was nothing but a fetus. I'm angry at them for letting their weakness destroy the human being I was fighting to become. I deserved better. I deserved to know. I deserved to know the truth. I deserved to be whole. tube, an ejaculation, a freezer, and so many babies who deserve to be whole. I'm not here to open my heart and get patted on the back. I'm not here to unload. I've got friends who love me, I'm taken care of. But some people aren't. Maybe my brothers and sisters aren't. Maybe they just discovered the truth and have no one to turn to but a blank, lost reflection of themselves. So I have a voice, and I will use it, because no one should ever feel alone and angry and lost because of something like this. My mum thinks I discovered it by myself. That one day I put 2 and 2 together and poof, I knew. It's flattering really that she thinks I'm that clever. Mothers have this ability to think their child is incredible in every way. One day she'll see this show and realize that I'm more honest with you, strange figures in the dark, than I am with her. Papa, why did you lie? I hurt because you couldn't deal with your own pain. The letters I'll never send. So I am a shady character, given to myself. I don't know if my ever-changing eyes match my biological father's. I don't know if I owe this all to him. Every line, every curl, every curve. I don't know who I owe him to. But I know one thing. I own them. Understand?